Hey everybody, welcome back to Tin Plated. I'm Rowan.
I'm Rob.
No, you're not.
I'm Amy.
And this is the Q&A video that I mentioned. This is probably going to get into a lot of territory that maybe some people will consider a bit personal or a bit odd. So, if you don't want to hear me answer a bunch of trans-related questions, check out now. I'm fine with that. And there should be another video that goes up at the same time as this one that I think you'll like. Just go check it out. Trust me.
It'll be fun. Swear.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, the reason why my wife Amy is here with me is because one of the most common questions we got was people asking how she took it when I told her that I was trans. She's known since before we got married. I told her...
Oh, no. This one's mine. She told me 2 weeks before our wedding day that she was trans.
Mm-hmm. So how did you take that? Inquiring minds, they want to know. The tin soldiers demand information.
I'm happy to give it to them.
Okay.
I love her. I loved him. I still love her. I'm actually mostly straight. I do occasionally experience attraction to girls, very clearly, but I tend to lean towards guys. It's weird, and I've had some trouble with it, but at the end of the day, I'm not leaving her. I'm gonna support her. And I think the exact words I told her when she came out was, if you steal my clothing, I'll cut you.
And it turns out she steals my clothes, so that's not surprising. Plus, we're polyamorous, so, I mean, we've sort of got that little bit of pressure release valve where we both have other partners.
Yeah.
Amy doesn't at the moment, but I'm seeing a very lovely young man. He's a nice guy. So moving on to other questions. May I have your babies? Someone asked.
No.
No. I don't even know how that would work.
No.
Because it was a guy asking, and...
I mean, if you do, I want half of the rights to the story.
I think we get more than half. I mean, we're the famous ones.
Yeah, clearly.
Someone else also asked why the name Rowan, because when they hear the name Rowan, they think of Rowan Atkinson, and then it seems like a guy's name. Rowan is a pretty androgynous name. My middle name used to be Randall. I was Sean Randall, and I already had an email address that made use of my initials, and I honestly, genuinely just didn't want to switch to a new email address, so I kept my initials the same. It took me a long time to pick a middle name. I picked a first name first. I just took Sean, and since it was the Irish spelling of Sean, I just took the Irish feminine form of John, which is either Sinead, like Sinead O'Connor, or Siobhan, like the character on Orphan Black. But Siobhan sounds like a black name, and it's spelled Siobhan. And while I know it's an Irish name, I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and so every time I introduced myself as Siobhan, I would get delightfully ignorant comments about the perceived ethnicity of my name. So I went with Sinead, which still also sounds kind of ethnic.
We used to live in a not-so-great neighborhood of town, and would introduce people. This is my wife, Sinead. Every time I showed them a photo, they were really surprised that my wife was white. Yeah.
Ended up eventually going by my middle name more often when I finally picked the name Rowan. Rowan for the tree. It's also used in a Scottish name, where it means little red one. Some sort of Gaelic name.
Scottish.
I do know 2 girls named Rowan, neither particularly well, which is why I didn't feel odd about going for that name. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't find this out until I'd already been going by Rowan, and put in my name change paperwork that I have a niece named Rowan. So, Rowan is a thoroughly androgynous name. As for my first name, I'm actually not Shanae or Siobhan. When I told my parents about this, they were very accepting and supportive. So I asked my mother to go ahead and pick a new first name for me since I wasn't using it anyway. And she named me Skylar, which is also a very androgynous name. So I am a walking, talking ambiguity. So that's a thing.
I just like how both of your names are tree or sky related. It's like your parents were really terrible hippies.
Skylar is actually from a Dutch name that means scholar.
Sky. Sorry.
I'm a smart Dutch woman. A lot of people asked how people reacted, particularly Rob. Those of you who are really serious fans of the show know that Rob just sort of moved in with us like a month and a half before we started the channel. I didn't know him. We didn't grow up together. We aren't old friends. He just happened to be nearby when I started to film the first episode of the Dark Souls Let's Play, and he sat down with his drinking horn, and we just sort of improvised the whole thing from there. But the Craigslist ads we took out specifically said that whoever they moved in with, or whoever moved in, would have to be okay with trans people, because I was already in the very beginning of the process of transition before I started this channel. I've been working at this for three or four years at least.
I think 5, because that's when we got. That may have been when we got married.
Something like that. No, we don't remember when we got married. Fuck you guys and your judgmentalness.
Okay, look, we've been together forever. It's not worth it anymore. We got married sometime in October. I don't know.
Wasn't it like the 15th?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was the 15th. And you yelled at me saying it was the 14th, and you're like, you forget our anniversary! And then I went and I got the marriage certificate, and fuck you.
Let's stop talking about that.
By the way, we snuck a same-sex marriage in under the eyes before the Supreme Court ruling, so fuck you, Georgia. Why did we get married in Georgia instead of Tennessee? Because it was $25 cheaper.
And we were poor.
It's not exactly rich. So Rob already knew. He really hadn't had a lot of exposure to LGBT stuff. But he's been confused but very accepting the whole time. I remember early on we'd have a lot of discussions about like, well, if you were in a society that didn't have gender roles, how would you know? And we talked about the internal image of gender and the difference between identity and roles and stuff like that. And eventually he just sort of rolled with it. When I made the 100% switch, I call it going full time, from male to female and started just going by Rowan all the time, he had a little period of time where he just avoided referring to me by anything at all. But since the first time he called me Rowan, he's never slipped up once. Other than Rob, in general, everybody's taken it really well. Amy's family.
My parents and family don't really have any understanding because they're very, very country. My mom, for a while, just kind of avoided it at all times, and Rowan kind of paused in her transition at one point. And when she started back up, I was mentioning it to my mother, and she goes, I thought she got over that. No, it's not a cold. But they're pretty accepting. They fuck up a lot. They try really hard. And Christmas and birthdays at this point, we just get the exact same thing because my mom assumes that that's safer.
Well, basically, you get it in bright, happy colors, and I get it in black.
Every year.
I'm pretty much okay with that. My family took it really well. They didn't understand why I thought it was a big deal to tell them. All of my friends, I've been self-selecting very very open-minded and liberal friends my whole life, so nobody has really cared. I did transition on the job at work, and that was interesting. I work for a large federal agency. So, according to executive order, I have protections under equal employment opportunity that most people don't in pretty much the vast majority of the United States and in the world. It is entirely legal to fire someone for being trans. Not if you work for the federal government. That's not allowed. So, went to my HR person and I said, hey, I need to talk to you and I have to tell you in person. And they went, okay. So I went there and I said, hey, I'm trans and I'm putting in for my name change, and so I'd like to update everything at work when my name change gets updated. And she went total deer in the headlights, just,
yeah,
I'm gonna refer you to my superior. And so I got bumped up the chain. And by the time I got called in for the meeting with him, he'd researched everything he could and said, so we have no policy in place whatsoever and we don't know how to go about this. So just tell us what we're supposed to do and we'll do it. So not the actual legalese of it, but I wrote the policy for workplace transition for transgender people at that particular agency. That's scary. Yeah. I work in IT, not HR. And it's been mostly good. A little bit of gossip the first week. There was a funny one. After a week on the job, in girl mode, boss calls me in for a quick meeting to check on how that's all going. And says he'd gotten some concerns from some of the women on the floor that they'd been going into the restroom and the seats had been left up and they were blaming me. At which point I asked, what floor? He said, this floor. I said, that's interesting, because in order to avoid making people uncomfortable, I go down to the 4th floor. Wait, you don't use the restrooms on this floor? No, I don't. So that couldn't have been you. No, it couldn't. Oh. Also, TMI time. I haven't stood up to pee for like 12 years.
It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, if you're sleepy or, you just feel a little lazy, you want to fuck around on your phone, have a seat. Maybe you'll find a poop that you didn't think you knew you need to take. Feels good. Okay, so when did you find out that you were trans? Okay, that's a complicated question. When I can only answer for myself because the narrative of trans varies a lot from person to person. So with that in mind, when I'm describing myself, know that my story isn't necessarily typical. When I was super little, like toddler even, okay, maybe not toddler, like 4 or 5, I liked boy things like Ninja Turtles and Nintendo and stuff like that. But like whenever anybody grouped boys and girls, I would just sort of instinctively assume I was supposed to go with the girls. I don't know why. I was told I couldn't do that, and eventually I just stopped. It didn't really matter. I mean, at that age, there's really not much of a difference between boys and girls, so it wasn't a thing. Until puberty. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but during puberty, a lot changes about your body that's specific to your body's sex. And that was absolute hell. I hated absolutely everything about it. And I know and knew then that puberty's not a picnic for anyone. So I just assumed all guys wished they were actually girls, because clearly it was superior. That one seems to be pretty common. But this was like the mid-90s. There were no... Trans people were a bad joke on tasteless sitcoms. They were porn fetish. I didn't think there was anything I could actually do, so I just sort of stomped it down and ignored it. Eventually, shortly after high school, I did figure out that it was an option, and I tried a few different times with a few different serious girlfriends to sort of be like, hey, I need to talk to someone about something. Every time, before I even brought up the conversation, they brought up and said, it's okay if you're gay. We'll just, break up and we'll move on. But if you think you're a woman, that's sick. Oh, okay. I'm wrong and damaged, and I should go back to repressing it. There's a fun little statistic where about 40 to 60% of trans people attempt suicide. I made several dozen attempts to commit suicide. The dysphoria that comes with being trans is absolute hell. And it can't really be treated like normal depression because it doesn't come from a serotonin imbalance. It comes from your body being run on, your brain being run on the wrong set of hormones, and your brain knowing that something's wrong with your body and desperately wanting it fixed. This continued all the way up through until I finally got to start hormone replacement therapy this year. There were more than a few times where the last in-plated video was going to be Rob announcing that I had killed myself. I tried a lot. It's a good thing I don't know how to tie a knot. Most pills you can't actually overdose on in any reasonable means. I would pass out in convenient positions if I tried alcohol, and I didn't have the willpower to really get a knife in there. I do have a neat little scar right about there on my neck from where a rope snapped and dragged. Actually, it was an Ethernet cable. It snapped and dragged the actual clip of it across hard enough to cut a gouge. Can't really see it anymore, but so that's a little deep, dark, and heavy. So when did I figure it out? That's a vague question. Anywhere from when I was a small child to high school to puberty to about 20-something. It's kind of fuzzy when you understand or how you define knowing that I'm trans. So, sorry, that's not the best question. What sort of societal backlash have you experienced, if any at all, since the switch? I self-select my communities pretty well. I'm fortunate enough to typically pass, which is a term we use to describe being read as our preferred gender. I tend to pass pretty well to strangers, so I don't get random harassment very often, other than, the harassment that women get in public.
Yeah.
Amy, on the other hand, has not been quite so fortunate.
We suspect it's because I'm a lot more approachable than she is, but I've had some really, really mean things said to me about her. Because I'm used to having mean things said to me. I was bullied as a kid. I get that. I can deal with that. I'm not going to let somebody insult my wife. Just flat out not going to happen. Also, I hide it a lot. I work in an industry where basically I lease apartments.
Not basically, literally, yeah. You lease apartments. That's your job.
And oftentimes I will tell people, my husband, or I'm not normally big on my husband. What I'll say is my spouse. They said this. They do these things. Everybody at my work knows and is pretty much accepting, but I hide a lot. And I've had a lot of really mean, terrible things said to me.
Such as?
She gave me a necklace once. It had a rainbow on it. And I was driving in the middle of the night to get to somewhere else, and I stopped in a Walmart. And
she was coming back from a LARP. Don't try to hide how nerdy you are.
I was coming back from a LARP in the middle of the night, and I stopped at a gas station. Or a Walmart, sorry. And a guy looked at me and went, "What are you, some kind of faggot?"
First of all, That's the wrong slur. It's what are you, some kind of dyke? Just saying.
Well, if you'd had more than 2 IQ points to rub together to make a fire, I'm pretty sure you could have got that. But my immediate thought was, oh my god, I'm going to be a statistic. I'm going to be killed for this. And I was able to deflect it by looking like I'm straight. And telling him that it was my kid's. And the kid had made it for me and making him feel like an asshole about it. So I deflect with humor and looking like I'm terrified. Sad little white girl.
Mm-hmm. Most of the backlash that I've experienced hasn't been direct. It's been indirect. It's been really weird that This has been a weird fucking year to be trans, okay?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, this shit exploded. And as a result, after the gay marriage thing was settled here in the States, the bigots started to look for a new target to pick on to rally up their voter base. And all of a sudden, a lot of people are really fucking concerned with where I go to the bathroom. When I go to the bathroom, when any trans person goes to the bathroom, we're just going to pee. Promise. And the argument that they give, and it's entirely disingenuous, and it's a flat-out lie because they're just trying to be fear-mongers. They argue, well, what if someone just claims to be trans and uses it to go into the bathroom to harass someone? Harassing someone in the bathroom is already illegal. It doesn't matter if it's the bathroom of your gender or not. If a woman walks into a women's restroom and harasses a woman or creeps on a kid, that's a crime! It's already a crime! Letting us go to the bathroom in a room where we don't feel uncomfortable or threatened, because if I walk into a men's room looking like this, I'm in danger.
The violence rates for transgender individuals are so much higher. I don't want to have to worry every time that she needs to go pee.
Mm-hmm. So the societal backlash has been largely on a larger scale for me, which has been interesting since I live in the South. But Chattanooga is a really weird town. It desperately wants to be the Austin, Texas of Tennessee. When you get transitioned, do they actually hack off your junk?
Yes, with a surgical saw.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Okay, get transitioned is a fuzzy question to begin with. Some people don't get any sort of surgery because they're unhappy with the results that they'll get on the other end. This is especially true for female to male transsexuals, which trans men, as opposed to a trans woman. See? Easy terms, huh? A lot of trans men aren't happy with the options they have for bottom surgery. It's a little dodgy. I won't go into the details too much there, but that doesn't mean that they're not fully transitioned. Some people just take hormones and don't get any sort of surgery. Some people want surgery but can't get it for medical reasons or whatever. So everybody's idea of when you get transitioned is different. As for do they hack off your junk? No! They turn it inside out and tuck it back up inside and sort of move things around. And it's complicated and mildly horrifying. Look it up.
Google it.
There's two big methods. There's the penile inversion method and the Chonburi flap method. That's CHONBURI.
Just Google it, but be warned.
Keep your finger on the pause button. It's really, really, really gross.
Yeah, be warned, okay?
Yeah. Results are actually pretty good, though. At least for female. Do you still have your dick? Damn, y'all.
You are so concerned with my wife's penis.
A lot of people seem really fucking interested in my genitals. I didn't think we were dating or there was a chance of us sleeping together or anything. When people ask this, I usually like to ask them to tell me about theirs first. And if they answer me, fuck it, I'll tell them. Yes, I do. It takes a long fucking time to get to surgery. But that doesn't matter. If we're not fucking, it doesn't affect you. Don't ask people that. That's fucked up. Don't do that.
The question I like to give to people, because I get it a lot more than she does, I would imagine, because I'm more approachable.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, I look intimidating.
If they ask me to see her penis, I ask to see theirs.
Has anybody actually asked to see my dick?
Yes.
What? To see it?
A coworker. It was weird, okay?
It's so...
Yeah, I know. But also, to the people who claim, well, if you have a dick, you're still a guy. Awesome. Let me see your penis right now. I'll do an inspection, and I can assure you, you won't leave thinking you're a man.
She gets bitchy when she's angry.
Sorry, I try to protect her, okay?
Is the change with pills and hormones and things physically uncomfortable? Well, it made my boobs hurt a lot as they were growing. They're a 36C now, which, alright. But as they grow, they get really sore. Other than that, no discomfort at all. A lot of body fat has shifted around, which is why my face looks a little different. Stuff has moved to my hips and my ass. Sort of shifting my body to a more feminine shape in general, but it hasn't been uncomfortable at all. Emotionally, it's been a little weirder because effectively I'm a teenage girl going through puberty.
The Sarah McLachlan song makes her cry, and it's so glorious.
I will remember you.
Oh yeah, no, it's I Will Remember You. That's the one. Yeah, it's not the puppy commercial.
I think that isn't that the puppy commercial?
In the arms of the angel.
Fuck you! Okay. So there's a very real possibility at some point a game is going to get emotional, and you guys will get to see me bawl on camera, and it'll be hilarious. But other than that, no discomfort at all. One of my pills is mint flavored, and I hate the taste of mint, so that kind of sucks. Does that count? That one's also a diuretic, so I have to pee a lot. I guess that's uncomfortable. Yeah. On the same topic, how quickly do these things take effect? My boobs hurt after just a few weeks. The mood swings started about the same time. Skin got softer. I don't know, anything else you want to comment on? Like, it all started happening pretty quick. It varies a lot from person to person. I've responded really fast.
Pretty much immediately, and I don't know how much of this was psychosomatic and how much of this was the pills. She used to be really, really angry.
You guys may have noticed that if you watch the channel.
Yeah. That's not an act. That's her. Yeah. Pretty much immediately, it was happier, a lot more optimistic. I didn't have to beg her to go to work or to school or make her do things. She just wanted to go out. She wanted to be there.
The reason why transition is the way you treat gender dysphoria is because it works. It got rid of my depression. I have had one suicidal thought since going on hormone replacement therapy, and having that thought horrified me. I feel better now. I don't need to meet anybody else's criteria of whether or not this is the right thing to do, because I know without a doubt this is what needs to happen. As someone in the community, how do you feel about Caitlyn Jenner being, whether it's liked or not, more or less didn't...
I'll do it while she's calming down. I hate Caitlyn Jenner. Who she is as a person. I think she's a terrible human being. I think she's a fucking horrible example of transition. But she got it in the public eye. And she's she. Hate Caitlyn Jenner if you want, but hate Caitlyn.
I'm not quite that strong about it. I really, really don't like her. I think she puts out a lot of bad images. I think she gives an unrealistic picture of what transition looks like. I think she has some very backward opinions on what it is to be trans. I think she has some very backward opinions on what it is to be a woman. Somehow she manages to both identify as a woman, like women, and still say she's not a lesbian. That's not how that works. If you are a trans woman who is solely into women, you're a lesbian. That's how that works. But the thing is, no matter how much you dislike her, if you attack and invalidate her identity as a woman, you're attacking and invalidating every single trans person in existence. Call her a rich lunatic.
Call her a bitch.
Yeah. Call her ignorant. Call her backwards. Call her obsessed with her appearance and her fame. But she's still Caitlyn. And she's still a woman. She's just annoying. Apparently she has been making some attempts to educate herself and be better and but until I see a change, I'm still going to be pissed.
Yeah.
On the other hand, she has brought a lot of visibility to our existence, which has been good and bad. Although if me explaining this whole thing to someone is asked with, "Oh, so you're like Caitlyn Jenner one more time?" I may have to stab a bitch. Because, yeah, it's just like Caitlyn Jenner. Except for the part where she's a rich, famous Olympian with a reality TV show, a dedicated medical team giving her all this at once, and, oh yeah, fashion consultants. Yeah, it's exactly like her. I'm a socialist, damn it.
But it got people talking.
What a fucking Kardashian. How did you find out that you were trans? Was it like a brain click or something? But I think I've already explained how I figured it out. I've always sort of known. I just sort of accepted when people told me it wasn't something I could do, but eventually it got too bad and I just had to, regardless of whether or not it was acceptable. How do you feel about the current SJW trend? People sort of fighting for your rights and such without being in your community necessarily.
I'm not trans. I fight for trans rights.
Yeah.
Please understand that I fight for the rights of a transgendered person, even though I'm not trans. But that doesn't mean that I know what their experience is like. I can't tell you dysphoria.
I can tell you this about the SJW talk. It's a boogeyman. Yeah, these people exist and they're really loud, but honestly, they're not as much of a threat as the media likes to make them out to be. Talking about some lunatic banning certain language from a college campus, that's not that common, but they will blow it up because it gets clicks on the internet. That said, for the people who do this, look, sexism is still a thing, racism is still a thing, transphobia is a thing, homophobia is a thing. These are all problems. The lack of good representation of minorities in the media is problematic. The fucking... Alright, look, Gamergate is not about ethics in game journalism. Maybe that's a little bit there, but no, it fucking isn't. Just because the things they're yelling at are bad doesn't automatically make whatever they say okay. You don't get to construct problems on top of the real ones. You don't get to just fly into wild, self-perceived rages over something that isn't really a problem. The backlash against SJW is completely disproportionate to its existence. I think that's the bigger problem. It's not a thing. These people they don't have any real power to speak of. And for the ones that do go on these ranting hyper PC tirades, just fucking ignore them. They're lunatics, okay? Don't make death threats. That makes you worse.
Don't feed the trolls, basically.
So basically the whole thing is just stop treating people like shitheads. Just listen to people and don't be a dick. That goes for both sides of the argument. Calm the fuck down. The last question that I've got here is, how has transition affected your daily life? Why don't you start?
You guys have seen her on the channel, and you've seen how she used to act. I'm not afraid of my wife anymore.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Sorry. It's so much better.
When I first went full-time, I tried really hard to be a good woman. I dressed in all the office clothes that all the other people in my office wore, and I wore a lot of makeup, and my hair was long, and I styled it, and I got it done really expensively, and yeah, I had pearls. And eventually I gave the fuck up, and I cut my hair shorter. I started wearing a lot of flannel, wearing eyeliner and not really any other makeup, and just sort of being, frankly, a little bit butch. I wear boots, not heeled boots. I wear combat boots most days. I wear a skirt or a dress when I have to. I've got studs all over everything. I've gone back to dressing goth, which is fun.
I married the 90s.
So that whole figuring out who the fuck I actually am again, that's really had a big effect on my life. Transition itself hasn't had a whole lot of effect. I take my pills, and that's about it. Being a woman in society's eyes now, that's different. It was really weird going back to school this semester and having everybody suddenly not believe my opinions mean anything because girls don't know how to write computer programs. It's been really weird that anybody over the age of 55 where I work seems to think I can't touch a door. It's been really weird that guys on the bus think it's okay to rub my shoulder for 15 minutes straight. For those of you saying, why didn't you stop him? Because sometimes causing a scene is more dangerous than just sitting there and taking it. And that's the fucked up reality that I've had to learn to live with. I get catcalled. I get talked down to. It's been interesting going into GameStop or whatever, even though I really don't like going into GameStop, when all of a sudden I'm buying something for my boyfriend. No, I'm buying this for me. I was talking about, I commented on a Fallout 4 standing. I'm like, oh, Fallout 4. And someone was like, oh, that's the sequel to New Vegas, but that's actually like the 7th one in the series. And I'm like, yeah, I played the old top-down ones back in the day. I said, really? Well, did you know that there is a difference between how I got told these things when I was presenting as a guy and people were sharing information, and how it comes from guys trying to impress the nerdy girl. Really, guys? It's not impressive. Yeah. Chill. Or, asking if I've ever heard of Magic the Gathering, because I've been under a rock for the past 15 fucking years. So it's not so much that transition has affected my life, but just being my actual gender has affected it. I don't hate clothes shopping anymore. I mean, I don't dress particularly fancy, but I get to wear clothes that I actually like. Admittedly, it's still mostly jeans and t-shirts, but they fit differently. I get to wear different styles. I get to not hate every moment of my existence. So I'd say that's been a pretty big effect. Anyway, guys, you've been mostly overwhelmingly supportive. The Tin Soldiers have been great. I know some of you probably didn't watch this video, weren't interested. That's okay. This isn't what the channel's about. But enough of you had curiosity that I thought I'd just sort of talk to you guys and answer some questions. I don't know, maybe some of you got some information out of this. Maybe some of you are just still really horrified at the whole, no, they turned it inside out thing, which, yeah.
No, it's terrifying, but you know, really whatever makes, like, you know.
That's
sure.
the option I got.
And that's what is good for you.
But by and large, doing this channel has been something I really like doing. I've always really liked video games, and I've always really liked being an entertainer. And Tin Plated has been a way to do both of those things at the same time. I've been able to be entertaining, maybe slip in a little bit of education here and there. I hope this has also been a combination of education and entertainment. All I really have to say is thanks for listening. Thanks for being supportive. For those of you who finished watching this before you went to see the other video that got posted, it's Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. So that's your reward for watching. So just go watch it now. And I will see you guys over there.